Hello everybody, it's me, Riffraff Hornhelm, and I'm back again with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault, and today we have a monster review. Today we're going to talk to you about another mundane creature writ large, and that's the giant octopus. And the giant octopus is as brought to us from the original monster manual for use with basic Dungeons and Dragons and advanced Dungeons and Dragons, or what's typically called 1E. And it's an octopus that has had, steroids or something. I'm not really sure. It's gigantic. It's large. They're not as large as a giant squid, which we've talked about in a previous video. But they are still very large, and they have a armor class of 7, which is not that high, but they have 8 hit dice. That's not bad. Now, of course, they have a number of tentacles. All the tentacles have kind of a duality to it. Typically, they don't strike with more than 6 tentacles. They'll use the other 2 to anchor themselves in position. That's not bad. An initial hit from one of these creatures will do 1 to 4 points of damage. But after that, it starts constricting, and it does additional damage each round at a higher value until, either you escape or you bite the big one. Now, these only have animal intelligence, which may not reflect the current view of where octopus intelligence lies, but it was what it was back when the game was made. And it is neutral, but they have in brackets next to that evil, which means they have more of an evil motivation, I guess, than not as a neutral creature. Somebody's obviously watched a lot of old Ray Harryhausen special effect movies and so forth. But these are interesting little creatures. Well, sorry, not little, big creatures. They definitely are very tough once they get in combat with you. They're not the kind that are more likely to attack a ship or something like that. It's more likely that you'll run into these during an underwater adventure. But, once again, up to the DM, so it's what they decide on that side. So you do definitely have to watch out, though, with these tentacles. If they grab you with one, as I said before, they'll do like 1 to 4 points of damage. But after that, it's like 3 to 12. And it's because they're constricting you. They actually, if you're man-sized or larger, can be grabbed by 2 tentacles. Now you say, well, okay, I'm grabbed by the tentacle, but I'm a big, strong guy, and I'm going to get away. That's possible, but you're going to have to be above 1825 strength. Okay, that's the level that they have strength-wise. If you're above that, it's easy. If you're underneath, not so much. And of course, they have a mouth too, so they can eventually drag you to the mouth, and the mouth does, I don't know, it's like 3 to 18 or something like that, and it definitely is going to do some serious damage to you. I mean, with as many hit dice as this has, this isn't a totally weak creature. And in its own environment, it would be a pretty tough creature to fight with, depending on what you had going up against it. Now, it does not need special weapons to hit it. So that's a benefit right there. The other is it has standard magic resistance, so magic will work as well. But you'll always find it in like tropical seas and things like that. It tends to be warm water rather than cold water. And it's always going to be salt water. You're not going to find this inland. Best you could hope for is maybe like the river delta that connects to the ocean, something like that. But they're not small. And yep, because they tend towards evil, they could be kind of nasty to deal with. You got to think about the illustration that shows it inside of a ship and so forth, waiting as you come to try and loot this sunken ship and pouncing on you. That's not new to the book. That's also taken from film. So, of course, this could be a very nasty creature. I mean, octopi can, we know today, certainly, that they can get through very small holes in relation to the size of their body and so forth. This could make a very interesting encounter. But us dwarves, I mean, do we ever run into these? Well, you gotta be kidding me. This is in the water, unless you're unfortunate enough to be stuck with an adventuring group where you're forced to travel underwater and you have the magical means to do so, whatever that may be, you're not going to run into these. Certainly, I never have. None of my dwarven brethren that I've spoken to ever have. And it's totally different in the gaming world. We get that, but amongst us, no, it's not going to happen. Of course, going out to the gaming world, we had to ask about this. We definitely run into these in adventures. And we went to the greater Hornhelm community and said to the DMs and to the players and said, hey, what about the giant octopus? Well, how do you rank that one? And the dungeon master came back and they gave it a fairly favorable, I guess, review on that side. They tended to rank it in the range of about a 5 or a 6. I actually think that's pretty fair, especially with it operating in its own environment. The players we spoke to actually ranked it about 5 to a 7. And that's because some of them have had some very difficult encounters with them in adventures and found that the octopus that maybe they thought wasn't going to be that difficult turned out to be rather tough and did a fair amount of damage to the party. So it always depends on circumstances. I'm not going to argue with either of these. On the surface, I would have a tendency to rank this lower, but I've also found that these could make a worthy opponent for a party. There's no two ways about it. So a very cool creature if you're doing a ocean adventure, especially one that's set like in tropical climates and so forth. This could be a worthwhile addition to your adventure, but certainly one to consider using if you haven't before. So that, my friends, is the giant octopus. We hope you found today's presentation to be interesting, educational, amusing, all that kind of good stuff. If you did, please be so kind as to leave us a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't. Drop us a line, share with your friends, but by all means, come back and see us again real soon. We thank you so very much for your kind support. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock!